through with that. We have got
About it gives us something to talk about. Let's put the Ohio States in there. Let's put the Washingtons in there. Let's make it sexy for a little bit. But then when it comes down to it, I saw a list earlier, and it was like a projected 12-team college football playoff. And all that mattered is I saw Georgia on one side, I saw Alabama on the other. It doesn't matter what other teams they throw in the mix. We know who'll be there at the last game.
you see what Justin says? Cousin Shay needs to walk a mile for every minute he's late to the show.
Yeah. I'm in the COVID bubble right now, So I feel like Hugh Freeze up in the stands, in my hospital bed. So no, a little under the weather here. It just felt like we couldn't let the golden voice get sick, So I tried to stay away from him there.
Yeah, well, I think I don't want to trouble you too much, but I think you had your mic on. Now you got it off because it sounds like it's off again. But I'm doing my cousin Shane impression right here with one of your beers. Yeah, that tastes like a playoff beer to me.
Well, what kind of outfit we?
Oh, there you go.
Here,
that's beautiful. Whatever you just did there.
Yeah, I had to get my IT glasses on here. Jeez Louise. Whatever happened to the good old days, Mike? We just called each other on the phone,
With the train coming by any
I know. I know, man. Jeez. I just want to talk football, man. We got a wild weekend coming up, brother. It was awesome listening to all the coach clips you sent me earlier, getting you fired up. We got a couple. I noticed. I don't know if you noticed, Mike, but I'm still sensing a few coaches looking in the rearview mirror and not what's coming up ahead. You pick up that this week?
Oh, yeah. So, we got a ton of coach comments. Shane said, take it easy on me. I need you to – let's load up on the coach. I love the coach comments, Shane.
I do too.
Sometimes I don't have time to get to them. But today, since you're at home, I put in that extra effort just for you, buddy. So
thank you.
Let's get into it, man. Georgia, that's the big game, of course. Again, number 2 in the playoff rankings if you missed it. Hosting number 9 in the – so same – well, Ole Miss is up a spot. But top 10 showdown in Athens, Shane. Just cannot wait for this matchup. And this is the one I've been looking forward to, Shane. People are saying, well, you said Georgia was going to lose a game. This is the one I kind of have circled that I think is most likely for Georgia to lose in the regular season. But then the SEC decided to make this a night game, and I may have to backtrack at. But I still think Ole Miss, with their balance, with their tempo, and Judkins running harder than he's ran all season, I think this is a game to watch as the one that is most likely for Georgia to lose. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, we talked about this at the start of the season, a couple of trap games we're looking at, and this was always the one that kind of stood out to me with Georgia. But again, coming off a Mizzou game, I think that was kind of a help, in my opinion. I think it would have been better for Ole Miss not only to get this at 3:30, but potentially maybe Missouri not being as good as they're playing right now, because they got a hell of a start this week, and it's shaping up to be. I'm looking at the best matchup on Georgia's schedule, and I know we got Tennessee right around the corner, but top to bottom, I think Ole Miss is going to provide a few more problems than a balanced Tennessee.
Yeah, and that's kind of the difference right there. So let's get into it, Shane, with some of these coach comments. Old Kirby. Their star All-American linebacker, Dumas Johnson, he got hurt tackling Brady Cook last week. And I thought it was reported he's out for the season, but hell, he may even play this weekend. So let's kick it over to Kirby real quick.
If there was any further update on Jamon and his injury, and with his expected absence, if y'all were anticipating having Xavier Story back this week.
Yeah, we're expecting to have Story back, as well as Raylan, CJ, Smile, Jalen, Terrell. All those guys will be competing for those spots. As far as Pop, still not sure how long it'll be, how long his absence will be. He's going to try to find some innovative ways to get back and be able to play, but won't know the extent of that until a couple more days. But really excited to see those other guys get opportunities. We got other guys that have played, and thank goodness at linebacker we use that as a normal rotating position. We have guys that roll in and play. We've averaged playing 4 guys at that position each and every game.
Shane, another positive to playing these coach clips?
Yeah.
gives me time to drink another beer. So, man, we got to do this more often. You know what?
Oh, man, I blew my nose. So, no, this is good, and that's one thing that I don't think enough people are talking about. Is start of season, Georgia's been banged up, and they are starting to get a little bit more healthy here. Now, obviously, we got Brock out. We got one of the best defensive players in the league out. There are a few key pieces, but that's a deep team, and some of that depth is starting to get healthy.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, because we'll get to Kiffin here in just a second, Shane. But with the tempo, that's critical. That's why Tennessee has been good under Josh Heupel. I think that's a big reason why Lane Kiffin's had so much success. And yeah, people give him hell for not winning a big game, so to speak. But
Yeah.
he didn't have Georgia players. He doesn't have Alabama players. So maybe we're a little too harsh, because I think Kiffin is – I can't remember this stat exactly, Shane, but I think he's 18 and 2 or something his last –
Yeah.
I don't know what it because he had last season was an epic disaster, so that ain't right. But whatever the record is, it's damn impressive, Shane. It's top 5 in the SEC the last couple of years, so clearly they have something going. And I think, the West is probably gone for them.
Yeah.
And the East is almost assuredly locked up for Georgia. Now they still have to win at least one more game. But is there something to be said for a team that nobody, not even diehard Ole Miss fans, they're confident, I get it, but they're not going to outright guarantee that they're going to win in Sanford Stadium at night. All that, the crowds are going to be wild. Top team in the country. I don't care what the playoff committee says. Is there anything to be said for a team that's going into a game with nothing to lose? Everybody's going to be picking you to drop it, and maybe that they've not been able to get over these Alabama humps, but maybe they can win a game here where no one's expecting them to win. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I think this is their championship, man. This is their SEC championship. Not to steal anything from South Carolina, but this is their Super Bowl. This is a big game for Ole Miss and a feather in Lane Kiffin's cap. And, you never know what's going to happen at the end of the season. We had a couple of 2-losses team that were hanging in there, but – see, that's one thing about these lives. I can read these comments now. Usually I don't see them. One of my favorites is Shane looks like he's at the firing range,
Oh, man, the comments are the best part,
I know, man. I wish I could mute them because I catch myself looking at them. But for the listeners at home, they're trolling me here. So, hey, I again, back to what I was saying here. This is a big game, and, a lot of teams in this situation coming off, maybe a disappointment knowing that they're not going to make an SEC championship, packs it up. But I don't know, man. I think this Georgia game has been vaulted so high that it feels like, hey, if we were in the college football playoffs, this is a team we would have to beat. So you never know what happens at the end of the season. But if you come out here and beat the Georgia Bulldogs, you're a team that's going to keep popping up when they're trying to figure out who that third and fourth team's going to get in.
Right. So let's kick it over to Kiffin, Shane, on this big matchup in Athens, everything that going into that, and just the excitement level within that building.
Have a gigantic challenge in front of us, going to play the number 1 team in the country and playing them at their place and at night. So I think the last time anyone's beat them there was 5 years ago before COVID. And, the last head coach that beat him there, I can't really call and ask because he's now on their staff. So there's not a lot of answers out there how to beat these guys at home. So a lot of people have tried, and so we got to have a really good week of practice. This is a very challenging combination now of having elite, phenomenal players and elite, phenomenal coaches combined, and on the road. So there's a trifecta of what's the hardest thing to pull off, and this would be it.
Questions?
See, Shane, he's doing exactly what I'm doing. He's sitting here setting it up. No one's gonna pick us. No one expects little old Ole Miss to go into Athens and beat the mighty Bulldogs, who haven't lost a game in 10 years, and the one guy they lost to in the regular season, they went and hired him. So we can't even ask that man how he did it. You know what I mean? So of course that game, if I recall, I think Jake Fromm threw 2 picks, 1 pick six. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's what it's going to take. It's going to take some turnovers. It's going to take some defensive scores. It's going to take a shootout. And hell, we've reached the point, Shade, where we can't even sit here and say this anymore. But one of the talking points was, well, can Carson Beck, can he win a shootout? Well, he's won about 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
We can't even go that anymore. I mean, Georgia's elite on offense just as well as on defense. So I don't know. I don't see much of a weakness.
Can they win without Brock? Yeah. Can they do this? I mean, we keep saying that's what we do. We pick on the number one, and there's plenty of TV shows, sports broadcasters out there that can, just pet on them Georgia Bulldogs and tell you how good they are. We know how good they are, but we also like that underdog story. I'm watching Sly, thinking about Rocky Balboa going against the Russian over. That's what we got coming this weekend. So can it happen? I don't know. Probably not. But, there is that little bit that you're like, well, I don't know. Lane Kiffin's done some crazy shit in his life.
Yep. Now, Rusty's asking, who was that coach that he's referencing? He's referencing Will Muschamp. That was the last he was obviously coach of South Carolina, last coach to win in Athens.
He wore glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
And speaking of someone that may need glasses now, Jaden Daniels, after that vicious hit he took, here's Lane Kiffin. Shane, he weighed in on it. Of course, he was rooting hard for LSU.
Oh, yeah.
He needed LSU to win that game. But maybe that jaded him. Maybe it did. I don't know. Let's kick it over to his comments.
I was asked yesterday by you guys about the LSU Alabama hit. I don't know how that's not targeting, and if it's not, I think you got a problem that's okay, and that defensive players watch, I can do that and I can stay in a game and take the other team's quarterback out. That's an issue.
Take questions up top.
He's got a point. He has got a point, doesn't he?
Absolutely, man. I love it. You're going to hear Saban's other side in a minute, like, I don't know, but this one is one of those that keeps popping up. We've already gave our 2 cents on this thing, but yeah, I get it, because it's funny because Vol fans are in the same boat now. They're, as much as they hate Lane Kiffin, they're rooting for him this weekend.
Yeah, they're his number one fan this weekend.
Absolutely.
Shout out Ryan, gave us $10. Go Dogs. 3-peat is happening according to Ryan, and he's probably right. I mean, they're getting better and better. You know what? So, that's going to be one hell of a game. Can't wait for it. But Shane, first time since 1979 that we got 2 top 16 teams meeting in Missouri, as Missouri and Tennessee going head to head. This is one hell of a game. And before we get to the coach comments, I don't know if you've seen this yet, because I know you've been house ridden, and you've probably been laying around and not paying attention to your phone.
I've been working out, drinking water, being a good boy. I'm just hoping my boss is watching, because I'm setting up a massive call in here, and he doesn't know it yet.
But Eli today, Shane, he says Luther Burden.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's questionable. I don't know if he's going to play. Are you buying it? Because it seems like, I mean, Luther is incredible. This is not calling him out, but it seems like he gets hurt every week, and then he's just Superman, and he gets up. Now, I think he's legitimately hurt, because he made a big play in the Georgia game. He got banged up, and then he was kind of a decoy for the rest of the game. So there may be something to it, but I mean, I still find it hard to believe he's not going to suit up against Tennessee. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think he should probably take it easy, because he does look a little banged up, and maybe another week off, he'd be in a lot better shape. So I'm worried about Luther here. I just think that's what's best. But all jokes aside, you're right. He's pulled up a little bit in just about every game this year, and obviously he's got some nagging injuries going on. But that ankle, that looked pretty rough there in Georgia. So don't be surprised if he's not out there more as a decoy. But he's got that dog in him, man. I just don't see Luther sitting out, especially in a big game like this. There's some emotional stuff going on behind the scenes too. These guys don't like each other at all, especially these coaches.
Right. And Matt says after this weekend, Drink will have to change his last name to Heupel if Tennessee wins again. I thought that was pretty good. We got some comments here from Steve. Shaney's double or nothing on the broccoli bet. We haven't revealed our picks yet, but maybe if there's a disagreement, maybe we bring the broccoli back into the battle. You know what?
I don't know. I was kind of happy that one didn't play through because I was definitely not looking forward to that.
But how about this, Shane? I mean, I didn't realize sellout crowd, only the fourth consecutive sellout. That's the first time since like 1980 or something like that. So let's kick it over to Drink. He's pretty fired up about it.
Yeah. Impactful has that been this year, and especially coming into a game against a top 16 team in Tennessee.
Yeah, really appreciative of the fans and obviously the support they're showing, and that stat kind of blew my mind because of the success that Coach Pinkel had in 07, 08, and obviously the run they went on in 12 and 13. So, for us to do something that hadn't been done in 40 years is pretty cool. And hopefully it's just the beginning. I mean, that to me is what my hope is that as we've been able to build this thing, that we're just seeing the harvest, so to speak, that we're going to continue to reap it and continue to build the brand of Mizzou football and build the case for us being a really difficult home environment to play in, and that starts with our students being really loud and carrying it over. I mean, somebody said, why stop now? I would carry on with them, like, why stop now? Let's make sure that Florida game's a sellout too. Night game ESPN should be fun. Beautiful weather.
He's calling his shot, Shane. Next game after we whoop Tennessee's ass, let's sell out this one too. I mean, that's shots fired right there, isn't it?
Oh, that place will be rocking.
I think you disconnected your mic there. But while we're doing that, I got some Tennessee stats here. Shane's behind the scenes trying to get it all together, as one would expect as he's sick. But, yeah, he legitimately ripped the cord out. I want to show it, but I don't want to embarrass him over here. Are you back, sir?
Yeah, I think I'm back here.
Okay, we got you. I could see you behind the scenes fiddling.
Okay, yeah. Oh.
Slim wants to know, what's the pet rock's name there at Mizzou? That's a good one.
Oh, that was my nickname in high school. Just kidding. Oh God. Hey man, that place it's going to be jumping. And all jokes aside, I love this. Because a lot of times growing up, man, 40 years of watching SEC football, there's always been a handful of really good teams and then a handful of shitty teams. And it makes it tough. It's a tough watch. I don't want any SEC game to feel like a bye week. You know what I'm saying? We've got enough Vanderbilt. I think this is the best part is when you've got some of these teams getting closer to the top. It's just every Saturday, it's like NFL, man. You just never know who's going to win, who's going to lose. Upsets are going to happen, although we've not really had one this year. But I feel it's got to be. We got to have a few this season.
Right, and you make a good point, Shane, because I'm trying to rack my brain the entire time Missouri's been in the SEC. I know that it's a running joke. They always say, like, well, we were down and all this and that and the other. But when they beat someone, that's the excuse. And I'm not saying it should be used as an excuse, but the point I'm trying to get to is I can't recall Missouri and Tennessee being good at the same time when they're I mean, it's usually one or the other. And this is the first time that I can recall that both of them have been ranked. And, I think it's going to make for one hell of a matchup this weekend. I really do.
No, that's a good point. I mean, when they first got in the league, it was some dark days over there in Tennessee. So, I thought we were going to beat them then, and they kind of took off. So, yeah, you're right. I don't remember this being it's the CBS game. Whoever would have thought of that 5 years ago? So that just kind of shows you where the league is, that any given year could be a new team pops up and then all of a sudden it becomes competitive.
And credit Josh Heupel, Shane, for changing the DNA of this team so quickly. The Vols lead the SEC in rushing. They also lead the SEC in defending the run. That's something Heupel, he's very proud of that.
With that, open it up.
Coach, after the stats from this weekend, you get the number one rushing offense in the league, the number one rushing defense in the league.
you always talk here, this is a line of scrimmage league. What steps have had to take place for you guys to be there in 3 years?
Yeah, just the growth, from our program, where we started to where we are now. It starts with personnel, having good players on the line of scrimmage. We have guys that have played a lot of football on both sides of the line of scrimmage too. They've continued to get better. We've had an influx of some young guys that are dynamic and change the way the game's played. And then, with all of that being said, you talk about, D linemen and offensive linemen. The other position groups have a great effect on that too. Offensively, your tight ends, the growth of our running backs, the quarterback being involved in that. And then defensively, you look at our linebackers and safeties, how they're playing, being able to tie all three levels of the defense together. I think that's been a huge part of the growth of our program since we arrived here, and we're going to need that here as we continue through this journey this season. In particular this week, you look at Missouri; they're extremely good up front. Running backs dynamic. I think he leads the league in rushing. And obviously for us offensively, we got to maintain balance. They've been really good against the run.
Shane, shout out Danny, one of our top commenters here on the YouTube. He says, no matter who wins, we all lose because Gary is calling the game.
I saw
and then Rusty Shackelford says, hey, Gary Danielson's sad it's not another Alabama game.
Oh, man. Hey, it's just another stadium, right? Just another stadium, Gary.
Matt wants to know, is Steve from East Tennessee going to call into the show?
Maybe. I tell you, this is going to be a good game, and it's tough. It's tough because I love Mizzou. It's like picking your favorite kid this week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but I'm gonna have to. So
you have to be torn, right? This has got to be the toughest selection of the season for Cousin Shane.
I even tried to call in sick to this pod. You wouldn't let me do it. So, yeah, it's like, well, if I'm not there, I can't pick one. But no, it is going to be a tough one, and the reason I like it is because, for Tennessee, this is probably the most balanced team they've faced this season. They played a lot of good games, but it's going to be a tough opponent. And then on the opposite side, Mizzou hasn't quite faced this offense since last year. So what does that look like? So there's a lot of question marks circling this game, and that's why the points to keep going back and forth. It started out Mizzou is favored, now Tennessee's favored. So it's just going to be like that back and forth.
Now, how about this one, Shane? Kind of interesting matchup here. Alabama on the road at Kentucky. Now, I think everybody and their mother is going to be picking Alabama for good reason. But coming off that big win, you're going on the road, and for some reason the point spread's only like 10. I thought it'd be closer to 20 if I'm being honest with you. And a little levity here from old Nick Saban. Last time that he was up in Lexington, he wasn't even Alabama's coach, Shane. He was LSU's coach, and there was a little play called the Blue Grass Miracle.
What do you remember about the 2002 game when you were at LSU at Kentucky with the Hail Mary?
Look, I remember we didn't play very well. I remember they poured Gatorade on the coach already. I remember there was about a 30-mile-an-hour wind that we had at our back, and the guy threw the ball, and it just kept going and going and going, and their guys misjudged the ball and tipped it, and Devery Henderson caught it and ran for a touchdown. So that's basically what I remember.
Oh, but this is dangerous, Saban. When Saban's joking and laughing, he knows he's got a squad. You know what?
Yeah, they're just trying to make this game personal. He's like, oh shit, you gotta go back 20 years. That was a good one, man. That was such a great game. Jefferson Pilot Sports. I called. I don't know if you ever do this, but I was, or if I've ever told you this, but I was on Charter back in the day. I'm off the spectrum, but I text them. They got them little message things, and I said, hey, how can I get Jefferson Pilot Sports high def? And they're looking through it, and they said, we can't find that channel. I was like, well, then I want out of this service. That's how I canceled my Charter. I was like, if you ain't going to carry Jefferson Pilot, I don't want no part in it. But, yeah, that was a great game. rest in peace, the hefty lefty. It came down the wire, and there was a lot of mistakes made at the end there, including the Gatorade bath.
Yeah.
Fans on the sideline. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
golly, talk about ripping your heart out.
Any chance at all, though, that Alabama, big win, looking past Kentucky's, they won last week. I give them credit, but they had lost 3 previous in a row. Any chance they have a letdown? Because it seems like the spread, that maybe that's what people, they're just begging you to bet Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Alabama just looks better and better every single week. And naturally you would think, hey, going to Lexington, this fan base, you could pull them all. They are not afraid of Kentucky. But what they don't realize maybe is that Kentucky is playing better week after week. I think after that Tennessee game, they really took a step forward. Last week, they didn't have to do too much, which I think is even more scary if you're going against an Alabama team. And they're going to have to pull out all the stops here. There's some shit that Stoops and them have been hanging back with, playing conservative. We saw a little bit of that with Georgia, but you can't do that. That's the proof. If you try to just play keep away, well, a couple of good scoring drives, then Alabama's going to run away with this thing. So, yeah, this could be a tricky game. You called it, Nashville. This could be a big upset. So, are you still hanging on to that? You still? Nope. I mean,
But I will say this, Shane. Do you recall the last noon SEC game Kentucky had at home?
The last noon.
And I'll give you a hint. Remember, Stoops came out and said, get out there and pound them beers early or something like that.
Was it Florida? Yeah.
Hell yeah. They ran wild on them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. A little bit different team, but
big upset coming, huh? Clip that one. Put it in Saban's locker room.
Well, speaking of Saban, you want to play this too? His thoughts on Dallas Turner.
Oh yeah.
Nothing wrong with that hit.
Watch what he says at the very end. He uses a key word here.
What was your perspective on Dallas's roughing call and just what the technical coaching point would be there?
Look, I don't know if there is a technical coaching point. You always tell players you want them to see what they hit. He hit the guy here, and then he hit him sort of in the chin. So it wasn't like a direct hit or an intentional hit to the head. It was a really good hit, but unfortunately, his helmet did slide up and hit the guy. So it's a foul. If you hit the quarterback in the head, it's just going to get called all the time. And we just want to have him keep his eyes up and see what he hits and hopefully target down a little bit so it doesn't happen again.
He even used the word target. Oh, geez. I love it because it popped up. I think it was Barstool Bama was talking about it, about the Bryce hit last year in Tennessee. And, and then you just go through them all. There's a lot of bad calls that refs clearly missed. But right now you're on the receiving end of that one.
Probably my favorite thing, though, Shane, is like I listen to my guy like Chris Marler. He's like, oh, you people bitching about refs. By God, they did it all last year.
Yeah.
When they, everybody does it.
Everybody does it.
I'm not saying anyone is, immune from it, but that is pretty funny. You know what?
And it was targeting.
All right, how about this one, Shane? Arkansas hosting Auburn. Bowl hopes on the line. Got to win out. Lost to Hugh Freeze last season, of course, with a different team with Liberty, but that was a stain on Sam Pittman, and that's kind of when the negativity really started to seep in with that program, and it's clearly is, not that that's affecting them this year, but with that skid, negativity crept right back in, but optimism is high. New play caller, opened up the offense, and, I thought Sam Pittman made an excellent point here that tempo is helping the line, it's helping them run the ball, and that's going to be critical against Auburn with their solid deep. That's the best part of their team. So let's kick it over to Sam Pittman real quick.
Coach, it's the tempo and the success of that was like super evident in the fourth quarter and overtime. I think especially in overtime, all 3 plays were kind of rapid fire before the touchdown. What is it about that tempo that maybe just suits KJ so well with this offense?
Well, I think first of all, and I agree with you. I think it benefits the offensive line. I think that's the biggest key that people aren't necessarily getting their cleats in the ground and checking to where your back is and all this kind of stuff. Excuse me, because they don't have as much time. I think that's part of it. The plays that Kenny called were runs and runs. They weren't run to pass. Now, we called run to pass as well, but there was definitely a game plan of we're going to give it to Rocket or we're going to have KJ run it. That's what we're going to do. And those are two very good options. And so a lot of our stuff in the past is, this season has been run to pass, where your backside is locked up in man. Therefore, you have no backup as an offensive lineman on the backside of you. You don't have any backup, and it makes it a little bit more difficult. You got to be a little stronger, a little more athletic, things of that nature. So we basically took a lot of that out of our offense, even though we did run a few plays back there like that.
How about this comment from Braden? If Dan Enos was still coaching, we'd lose this game by 20. I think he's right. You know what?
Absolutely. And I love that they did simplify the offense. Obviously, that helped out. There was still some bad drives there, but again, at the end of the game, at the start of the game, it felt like, hey, let's play to our strong suit, and that's exactly what Arkansas did. So they can't take their foot off the gas, though. I mean, your back is against the wall. All the pressure is on Sam. It's not on Hugh Freeze right now. So you got they finish it out at home, right? Every game here on out's at home. So you got an opportunity to still make a bowl. It's slim, but you cannot lose to Auburn or you're out.
Yeah, and I don't know if enough people, Shane, are talking about this Auburn defense either. So maybe a much tougher test when you're just talking about the unit they're going to be facing, because Florida's defense was far from elite last week. But that game was in Gainesville. This will be in Fayetteville, so maybe that helps. But are we kind of sleeping, do you think, on Auburn's defense, which is, they beat Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, obviously two awful teams, but hell, yeah, winning in this league is hard, and a first-year coach, you got to hand them that. They got Jarquez Hunter going hard. I don't know. I'm torn on this one. How about you?
Yeah, but again, they gave Georgia a fit. There's that. I think their defense is amplified a little bit at home. Maybe against road, but that's one of their strongest suits. I told you in the last show or the show before last, I think that I feel like at the end of the season, not enough people are going to be talking about this Auburn defense, and they should, because it just wasn't paired. Like if you took this Auburn defense and LSU's offense, by God, hey, look, the cat came out. You didn't get that on that SEC podcast, huh? Look at that. But that's what I'm thinking. If you took LSU's offense and Auburn's defense, by God, they'd be you talk about the best team in the country.
Yeah. All right, how about this one, Shane? Florida at LSU. Now, this is I don't want to call it a letdown or anything, because it's a great series, Shane. It's all-time tied up at 33 apiece. LSU has won 4 in a row, though. In the series, they've never won 5 in a row. This is one hell of a series, Shane, and it's probably going to be going away at least from the annual rotation here fairly soon. So we got to savor this one. Florida needs it desperately to make a bowl game. I think this is, I don't want to say winnable, or it is winnable, but not easily winnable. But I certainly think it helps with Jaden Daniels, his status unclear, and clearly if he doesn't play. My God, Shane, he's first in the SEC in passing yards. He's 5th in rushing yards.
Yeah.
Quarterback. That's incredible. But I don't know. I just have a feeling here, Shane, that Florida, while we're all trashing on them, we're all, oh, my God, Billy Napier, what are we doing? This is the perfect trap game for Billy to get him a win here. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, this is to win the fan base back too, because again, there's a lot of people upset about last week, and rightfully so, because again, as much as we praised Arkansas in that game, there was moments when Florida could have just took it away, and they didn't. So how do they bounce back? How do they fix those mistakes? You're going into hostile territory here. So a lot of people not expecting you to win, even though they don't even know the quarterback situation. But if you could come out and win on the road, that's something that, that's been kind of the knock on Billy is these road games. The only one he's got is South Carolina, and clearly they're not too good.
Right. Yeah. So, but and on the flip side, though, what's your confidence that Arkansas can keep it going on the offensive side? Was that a maybe Florida was overlooking them, and maybe that was kind of a mirage type performance where Arkansas can't repeat that. I don't necessarily think that, but I'm just curious what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think at this point, man, Arkansas just needs to. I think they should just honestly ask KJ Jefferson what does he want to do. I know it sounds stupid, but like just let him pick the plays. And I'm not saying that he can go out there and game plan and all that stuff, but I think they should simplify this playbook and say, hey, man, do you like going fast? If you do, let's do it. If you think you can speed it up, don't make it too complicated here at the end. It's simply gonna come down to those two guys, Rocket and KJ, and just again play into their strong suit. So I would expect them to be more heavily involved during the week on what they're going to be playing come Saturday.
Yeah, and here's Brian Kelly, heavy on his mind, Shane, avoiding that big letdown this weekend.
Yeah.
Coach, will be first time coaching after LSU loses to Alabama. A lot of years here in the past, there's been a letdown because a lot of the goals are off the table, winning the West. How do you avoid against a letdown? What do you tell your team this week?
It's the same thing about, what last week was about. It wasn't an emotional week. It was a preparation week for us. So this week will be the same. We need to prepare. Listen, it goes to what I said. Like, if we want to be elite, we have to be consistent. We won 10 games last year. You need to win 10 again, and that's in front of you. So you have an opportunity to win 10 games again this season, and if you want to start closing the gap towards being elite, then back-to-back 10-win seasons starts to do that. So it's a challenge to our football team in terms of how do you want this program to continue to grow? It's on your shoulders, and you have an opportunity to continue to get better. Coaches need to get better, and players clearly need to get better. And so this is a great opportunity playing a really good opponent at home, and you've got a chance to move from being a good team to being a great team.
Is LSU great, Shay? I mean, you think about it. They do have 3 losses. I'm seeing that everywhere. You're the idiot that picked them to win it all. But I honestly don't think they're that far up because who have they lost to? They lost to undefeated Florida State, one loss Bama, one loss Ole Miss. None of those games at home either, I should say. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm making excuses for them, but I don't think they're that far off. Do you?
No. They're there, and I want to point out something here too, something that stands out. This is showing you what's the word I'm looking for, that you've been in the business a while. You know what I'm saying? How he came out, how he's addressing the fans. I think it's perfect. Hey, I want to be elite. We're going to be elite. That's what I came down here to do. But we're still a great team, and he's right. They're still a great team. There's a lot of teams out there in this country that don't have this record and really would love to. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think that's pivotal because you watch some of these young coaches like Beamer and Billy. The way they're learning. You could tell this guy's he's already had those growing pains. So I think he's right. I think they got a great team down there. They don't have an elite team yet, but hell, Mike, it's year 2. You know what I'm saying?
Right, and heavy in the comments is fire the defensive coordinator. We're just 11 defensive players away from being elite. But you know how the listeners can be elite, Shane, is head on over to mybookie.ag today and put in that promo code ThatSEC. They're willing to give our listeners, Shane, an exclusive $200 cash bonus today over at mybookie.ag today. Fade our picks. Don't fade the professor. Fade me. And listen to the professor because the professor, he lost last week. That was a fluke, but he won the 2 weeks prior.
That's
and
right.
I don't know. Don't reveal it yet, but do you have a feel for your lock this week? I'm just curious.
I do, and I saw an interesting comment earlier in this feed, so I'll give you a little hint, Mike. I may make this pick without the glasses.
Ooh. All right. So, okay. That's a good one.
So don't forget the promo code, though. It's $200 for free. So even if you fade me, don't fade me, you got a gut feeling about this weekend, it's free money, and it helps the pod. It really does. We don't ask for too much. Just jump on there, grab your wife's phone. I've done that. I've set up like 15 accounts, so just keep doing it. And no, I'm just kidding, my bookie. I joke. I'm kidding. I've lost in every one, so they just keep making money. But anyway, no, it does help us out, so I appreciate everybody that's already done that.
All right, how about this one, Shane? Mississippi State at Texas A&M. Man, this is going to be tough, Shane. Yeah, I believe the over-under right now, I'm looking it up here. I thought I had it written down. The over-under, Shane, is 43.5 points. And it sounds like Max Johnson is going to play. He's banged up. There's speculation he's got a broken or cracked rib, which is incredibly painful. There's speculation that Mississippi State is going to go with true freshman quarterback Chris Parson. And if Max Johnson can't go, they're going to have to go with Jalen Henderson. A&M is a Fresno State transfer who last year, Shane, he threw for 49 yards and he was fourth on the depth chart at Fresno. So, man,
Brad Johnson ain't got any eligibility? Huh? He's up there in the stands.
He's going to be on camera. Don't make no mistake every time his son is shown. But, man, this, in a critical game where both these coaches are desperate for a win, getting to their third-string quarterbacks, potentially, both of them.
Yeah.
Man, this is I don't know. This is going to be one of those games where it's like it's so tough to watch, but you can't look away. That's the vibes I'm getting.
Like driving by a car crash,
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think what we need to do, Mike, is come up with a drinking game for this one. Maybe every time you see Brad Johnson, you take a shot, or maybe they talk about Jimbo's future or mention the word contract. Maybe we take a shot. I think there needs to be some sort of drinking game to just make it through this one.
Yeah, I mean it could be rough, but I'd
watch it if it was on a Tuesday. They just move the game. Just kidding. Just kidding, guys. I'm messing with you. Sorry, my drugs are kicking in.
It's a night game, Shane. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. But how much trouble? I mean, all jokes aside, if A&M loses this damn game, they're 18-point favorite.
Oh my gosh.
We gotta get rid of Jimbo immediately, right?
Shit, Mike. It feels like we say that every week. Maybe we should have a drink game when we say that, because I'm with you. And Jimbo, just as soon as he gets a little bit of cushion, he goes to Ole Miss. Or it's just when he gets a little bit of running room, he does something stupid or the team drops one. And this one right here, there's no excuses. I don't care if you don't even have a quarterback. The way Mississippi State's playing right now, there's no reason that you can't beat this team. Just turn around, run Wildcat, and just put it to them. But again, if we get to the end of this thing and Mississippi State pulls off a huge upset, just like they did with Arkansas, because say what you want, Arkansas was an upset. If we have another one of those, I think that'd be a huge feather in Arnett's cap. But again, I think he fired Jimbo immediately.
Yeah. Well, last one we got, Shane, Vanderbilt at South Carolina. And boy, Shane Beamer is not backing off. It's a hell of a win here. Interesting comments. This is like a 5-minute clip. I don't know if I'm going to play the whole thing because he just kind of repeats himself over and over. But he is heated, Shane. He is.
I like it.
Let's kick it over to him.
Always going to celebrate wins here, guys. And we put a lot of work into Saturdays, and we only get 12 of them. And some of them are really big and convincing, and we play great. And some of them are ugly as heck, and we don't play great. But at the end of the day, we won the football game. And then we are going to celebrate that, which is what we did. And it is still okay to be happy and celebrate a win, but be disappointed in how you played and be critical of how we played. I walked out of that press conference with you guys on Saturday afternoon, and I hadn't been 3 feet in the hallway, and I'm catching heck from my own family about the fake punt and how dumb they thought that was. So it's okay to be critical. And that's the point that I was trying to make, but I don't think it's okay to be unhappy and miserable after a win. Players or coaches or fans. We have the greatest fans in America. And if they walked out of that stadium on Saturday critical of me, that's okay. I deserved it. Disappointed in how we played and didn't look great? Absolutely. They're exactly right. But I would hope that if you're a Gamecock fan, that you didn't walk out of that stadium miserable and unhappy because we won the football game. And that was the point that I was trying to make. We get 7 Saturdays. I think we had 7 home games this year, right? Yeah, 7 home games. That's it. So Gamecock Nation, you get to come together in Columbia, South Carolina, 7 Saturdays a year, family, friends, everybody together. It was a beautiful Saturday in Columbia, South Carolina, an awesome day in Williams-Brice Stadium for Gamecock Nation to come together. And don't take that for granted. And when you got back in your car and I drove home, it's okay to be disappointed in the way that we performed and coached, because I was when I drove 4.5 miles from the stadium to my house. Or somebody drove back home to Rock Hill or Greenwood or Spartanburg or Greenville or Charleston or Myrtle Beach or Augusta or Aiken, wherever they came from, and be disappointed in the product on the field. We deserve that because it was not good enough, and we came in here on Sunday as a team. And we're very clear about that. Me to the coaches.
All right, he went on for about another 15 minutes there, Shay. Same old, same old. He did shout out all the towns and everything, so I'll give him credit for that. But
there's a recruit in every one of those, so it's well played. I'm with him. And I'm glad he said this. Again, this is what I talked about earlier about 2 different coaches. There's young coaches, there's these older guys that's been around the block, knows how to handle media, knows how to handle fan bases. He came out, he was emotional after that game. We saw this a little bit with Drink. You remember when he was talking about booing his quarterback and stuff like that? Sometimes you get a little too emotional and you say what's on your mind. But now he's just kind of double backing and clearing it. And I get it, because we've all had that boss that you do a good job, but it wasn't good enough. Maybe you got a parent like that. It's like, you do something, it's just not good enough. I totally understand that. A win is a win, and you can be upset with a win, but ultimately, if you're upset every Saturday, my argument was 7 Saturdays there in Columbia, we didn't walk away with 7 victories, which everybody is what they're expecting. So when we get a Jackson State, we're expecting an ass beating, and when we don't get that, naturally there's going to be a little bit of a letdown. So I get both sides here.
Yeah, and I don't think preaching to people when you're having your worst year and you're barely beating Jacksonville State, not the best look. But
right,
I do. I know people find him annoying. I like the emotion, but maybe save the emotion for your players. I don't know why you need it in the press conference, but that's kind of my deal.
This ain't a Hallmark movie. It's the SEC, Mike.
All right, so hey, we're gonna keep this a little short. Anything else? I know you're under the weather here. Anything else before we log off?
No, man. Again, looking at all these games, even this one right here, you see a little chirping. It's all the shit talking online. I absolutely love it. This is going to be a wild, wild weekend, Mike, and this is ultimately the end. This decides a lot of stuff. Georgia can clinch. Alabama can clinch. There's a lot of those that are going to happen here, and we're going to see. I don't want to call it separate. I'm trying to use every word but separation now, but it is going to be a pivotal weekend, and I think we're going to have some great football, man.
Yeah, and like you said, 2 top 20 showdowns.
Yeah.
3 ranked teams on the road: Alabama, Tennessee, and Ole Miss. So we all, it's cliche, but it's true. Winning on the road is incredibly difficult. So I'm not saying that. Well, hell, 2 of these probably will. We're not probably, but somebody has to lose. And then Alabama going on the road, always dangerous. They don't play as well on the road. So I'm just saying. Been called for that emergency podcast. It may be coming this weekend.
Hey, what was those ranks one more time? Do you got them?
For the playoff?
Yeah.
One final time here. Georgia remains at number 2. Bama's number 8. No movement with those. Ole Miss number 9. They jumped up a spot after beating A&M. Tennessee's 13. They jumped up 4 spots. Man, they loved that win over UConn. Let me tell you. It was Nico. It was a look at Nico. Mizzou 14. They fell 2 spots for some damn reason. And then LSU number 19. They dropped 5 spots after losing to Alabama.
All right, man. We're getting there. We're getting close.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff's about to finalize. So, hey, man, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll sound a little bit better tomorrow. So I apologize for the remote location here, the cat distraction, and me blowing my nose in between breaks. But, hey, I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.